Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Box Seats. I am your host, Frank Holder. Let's see, today is Wednesday, October 6th. Let's get ready to jump into the show. Oh, if you're not familiar with the show, this is the show where we talk about sports with comedians. And today, talent is out today, so we're going to jump right into Fig. Fig, how you doing today, sir? How's everything?
Man, it's a good day, man. Hump day.
Next up, let me bring in my man, Mr. Meyer. He's sitting in for talent. Man, how you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How's everything, man? Great to see you, gentlemen.
It's good to be seen. All right, so we're gonna get ready to get the show started while we wait for the other fellas to jump in on the show, man. But I want to jump in because we got so much to talk about, and we don't have a lot of time to talk about things, man. Because it's one of those days when there was a lot of news, and we got to see if we can fit it in for the hour. So let's get ready to get started. Fig, I'm gonna throw it out to you first, man. The COVID report is what we always talk about, and the first thing we always talk about is something that happened COVID related. But today's COVID report has got to be about Kyrie Irving because I think Kyrie Irving is causing huge problems for Brooklyn, man. I don't care how anybody wants to look at it, how they shape it up and everything else, but the Brooklyn Nets have stated, Fig, that they are unsure of what they're going to do because Kyrie Irving is unsure of what he's going to do. Now, if you guys know, he's already says that he's not going to play, and he can't play in any of the games at home, which is half the season, and the 2 games that he would play for the Knicks. So what do you think should happen, Fig? What do you think? What's your thoughts on this whole situation, bro? Especially if you're Brooklyn Nets management, what's your thoughts?
They're in a quandary, man. And since you said the Knicks, man, I am so happy that the Knicks decided against Kyrie Irving come into our organization, man. Win or lose, I don't care. But the Nets they're in betwixt and between. They have a problem. Houston in Brooklyn. They have a Houston problem in Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving. This kid don't want the vaccine. And it seems as though he's willing to sit out half the season and lose half his money. And yo, man, let me tell you something. I don't know if the Brooklyn Nets could do it, but if it was me, I'd just release him, man. I'd get him off my squad.
Yeah, see, that's the take a lot of people were talking about on the side. Amir, being that your brother played in the NBA and everything else, I know you have insight on the back workings of stuff like that, works with the NBA offices and everything else. With your insight on this, what do you think Brooklyn management will do with what they're facing? Because it's not like it's anything that we've ever seen before, knowing that Kyrie is the type of dude he will, just to prove his point, he will sit out to prove his point. So what's your take on this, Amir? How do you think they should handle this?
Well, first of all, as always, thanks for having me on the show. I think in this particular case, to the point that you just made, we've never seen anything like this. So the precedence on this is nothing that we can honestly, go to and say, well, they can utilize this train of thought or that train of thought. For the Brooklyn Nets as an organization, I'm sure that they are still fully vested in trying to bring a championship, obviously, to Brooklyn and to New York and, so forth and so on. They have to weigh whether or not this distraction is worth trying to bring a championship to their organization. And to be honest with you, I think that they're going to err on the side of Kyrie Irving because losing him is such an integral piece to that big 3. It's not to say that they can't do it with James Harden and with Kevin Durant and the other pieces that they have. But Kyrie brings a specific skill set to that whole situation that neither one of those 2 guys can fill. And I think that's what they're really having such a tough time with, is trying to figure out how do we still utilize what he brings to the table and get rid of him. And I don't think that that's possible under the circumstances. And I think to the last point, I think Kyrie is really, again, trying to set a precedence that we haven't seen which is somebody standing up against, obviously, this particular establishment and what's going on in the world at this particular time. So we got to kind of give him a little bit of props and kudos for that as well.
Right, but let's not forget about this either, too. You don't want to upset Kevin Durant either, because Kevin Durant and him are really, really tight also. So I think the management's got to figure out how they're going to handle not only Kyrie Irving's situation, they got to figure out how they're going to keep Kevin Durant happy if they decided they want to trade him or like Fig said, possibly release him, but they're not going to release him. They got to figure out how they're going to handle Kevin Durant.
I think Kyrie's untradeable because if the Brooklyn Nets trade him, then the other organization inherits these problems. So what do you do? Look, at this point, look, I think Kevin Durant has to grow up, man, because look, that's your boy and stuff like that, but this is your business. You understand what I'm saying? This is your career. This is your business. And if Kyrie Irving is doing something to interrupt that or disrupt that, then you got to cut ties. There's a difference between friendship and your business. You got to figure that out, man. I don't care what Kevin Durant, whether he was happy, unhappy, whatever the problem is. I'd have to, if Kyrie Irving takes this stance as a Brooklyn Net, as the owner of the Brooklyn Nets, I would release him, man. It just is what it is. And Amir, you don't believe that Kevin Durant, James Harden, and those other players that they have can win a championship without Kyrie?
And let me ask you this, Amir. Do you even think that Brooklyn even likes the fact that they're being held hostage? Because he's holding the organization hostage, bro. You know what I mean?
I think first and foremost, I think no. Obviously, no team and no organization at this particular juncture, no matter what sport we're speaking of, wants to be held hostage. But I do think this, in the particular case of what they initially thought that team and those players could do as a collective, that is a major piece if they lose him or move him or do anything that would, upset that whole balance. Kyrie Irving, even to, what he's managed to do in his previous situations, obviously as a standalone player, he's one of the, best ball handlers and so forth in the game. Where he lacks vision is his ability to be a leader when he doesn't have anybody alongside of him. And we've seen that obviously with what happened in Boston. We've seen that with what happened in Cleveland when he didn't have somebody else who could kind of pull the other pieces together for him. So the Brooklyn Nets could, yes, win, but he brings, like I said, a skill set that they don't have anybody else who can do what he does. He's a finisher like no other guy in the game right now.
Yeah,
and that's a hard thing to come by.
And he's holding the chess piece too. All right, let's move on, man. Next thing up I want to talk about is I don't know if you guys heard this news, but Kanye West is launching an academy, a school academy. He's calling it Donda Academy. And what Kanye did, unlike LeBron did, everything. Kanye went and launched this academy with all the bells and whistles like LeBron, except he recruited two of the top high school recruits with him. Now, the crazy thing about this is the recruits right now are in the top 5. Now, this guy is named Jalen Hooks and Robert Dillingham, and he's launching this thing in Southern California, and it's also backed by Adidas. Now, I'm not sure if you guys can see some of the things that's lining up here. I'm thinking this is also thing lining up with that Overbrook League. You know what I mean? That under, I forgot the name, but I think it's Overbrook League and everything else. I think Kanye's lining up that up too, because now look who the backer is. The backer is Adidas and everything else, and this could be starting a precedent on stuff that might make a lot of people unhappy with messing with their money when you start recruiting these top high school players to go to your academy, Kanye West. You know what I mean? Fig, what's your take on this, bro? What you think?
Listen, man, my take is always the mainstream organization, ice is not colder than the ice that we can manufacture for ourselves. Somewhere between the big three, this high school league, what Kanye West is trying to do, NFL players going back to HBCUs, I think it's a mindset, a shift in the mindset of powerful Black people with money and means to be able to put together other minds to create their own type of situation. And I believe that's what Kanye is doing. His business mind is brilliant. Now, people may not agree with what his personal choices are, what have you, but as far as his business is concerned, he's shown to have a brilliant mind. He's married to a woman who also has a brilliant business mind. That whole family just reeks money. I believe that he would be able to put something together on his own to compete against the NCAA. And long term, possibly another league to compete against the NBA. I don't see that as far-fetched.
Mm-hmm. Amir, what's your take on this, bro? Because at the end of the day, I think they're trying to set up some kind of funneling system where they're going to be, creating another league, funneling people to the NBA. What's your take?
I think kind of piggyback on what Fig said, and then just looking at the general lay of the land, I think we're looking at a shift in power, and it's been a long time coming. Only because we know, when I say we, talking about you gentlemen, and people who have followed sports, over the last 20 years, 30 years or so or more, we've seen what they've done with the wonderful talent that has come out of certain, neighborhoods and certain cities, and it has been disproportionately, utilized the funds that come from that. So universities have benefited, and all these wonderful things. And then we have these 30 for 30 stories that come out 10, 20 years later, where these guys are flat broke and their situations aren't well. Now, granted, we also come from a place and a situation and understanding where maybe we don't understand resources the way that we could and we should. But I think it's wonderful that we're now starting to see these young people starting to take vested interest in that and doing something about it. So that hopefully going forward, we won't see any more of these horrid stories of, people giving everything to the NCAA, then giving everything to the professional leagues, only to find themselves back to being broke and back in the neighborhoods that they started out from initially. So I think that it's great that we're seeing this.
Yeah, it looks like also my man Mike Sean has joined the show. Mike, how you doing today, bro? How's everything?
What's good, fellas? What's going on?
All right, let me bring you up to speed on the topic. I don't know if you heard it, but the topic is right now Kanye West is launching the Donda Academy, and he snatched up 2 high school recruits to him, and it's also the academy is also backed by Adidas, and people are starting to complain. You know how people always complain. People are complaining. Adidas is out there, right? Kanye launched an academy, everything else, but there's that league that's out there that wants to basically help finance some of these kids and then take them straight to pro and pay some of these kids. So there are people who are starting to kick back against Kanye West and starting this new Donda Academy and everything else. So what's your take on this, Mike? Are you for it? Because at the end of the day, these young men are able to make some money and while they're in high school, and it looks like Kanye might be on the side of trying to help them out. That's the way I'm looking at it. But what's your take?
I'm all for it with Kanye. I'm all for the academic side. I'm all for the financial side. We can say whatever we want about Kanye, but I'll tell you one thing. When he gets his mind set on something, it turns out to be something huge. A lot of people doubted what he was going to do in the fashion industry and made fun of him in different interviews and stuff like that. Well, he proved that point. They said that about him in hip hop. One thing we know in his background between his mom and him, they are for academics. I think we should see where this is going, and we should support him.
Yeah, I have to wholeheartedly agree with that. My take on this, man, is ultimately at the end of the day, if they create a way that they can help get some money into these kids' pockets, why stop it? You know what I mean? I think we need to do that. But let's stop up over the next topic, man. I don't know if you guys heard this other story. Before we get to the big news everybody's talking about with the Red Sox and Yankees, and all the other things, I want to talk about some of these stories that I have seen that people aren't talking about. And I don't know if you guys caught this, but Urban Meyer got caught with a lap dance, a so to speak lap dance, and it's disrupting the team and everything else, man. And people are upset at Urban Meyer right now. And he was already in trouble with the team anyway. And then a video surfaces that last Thursday or Friday, there's this girl who's close to him in his lap, surface and everything else. I'm sure it's going to be on TMZ in the next 24 hours. I'm sure it's going to happen. The team's upset with him. Management's upset with him. Ownership's upset with him. People are boiling. Fig. Should they start considering Urban Meyer getting fired? Because right now, talk is down in Florida that he is losing, if not lost, the whole team.
You know what's funny? All this time we've been talking about Urban Meyer, I've been discounting the fact that Urban Meyer is really urban. But the fact that he got a lap dance, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I need to reconsider. Maybe he's more urban than I thought in the very beginning. I mean, look, man, here's why people in Florida are angry. The Jaguars are losing. That's why they're angry. They want to win an organization. Fans, we want our teams and our organizations to win. That's why they're angry. And if they could blame it on somebody, then that's the person that is going to catch all the hell. So now the good person or the target here is Urban Meyer. They want to blame him. You're going to fire a man because he did something legal? A lap dance is legal. It wasn't prostitution. He didn't traffic young girls. He's not a pedophile. He got a lap dance. Maybe. And from my understanding, it wasn't really a lap dance. It's just like this girl was dancing kind of close to him or whatever and stuff like that. So it really wasn't even he wasn't in a strip club. He was at a restaurant and this girl danced up close to him. And that is grounds for firing a head coach of an NFL football team. If that is grounds for firing an NFL football team coach, then a lot of us are in trouble with the jobs that we have.
Nah, I think they want to fire him because he's 0-4 and got that lap dance. I think that's what the whole thing is. But man, what's your take on this, bro? What you think?
Hey, look, first of all, if the man is out here getting lap dances, chances are he's probably trying to loosen up and figure out a way to get those guys on a winning track. This might be the start of something. Maybe he needs to bring said woman to the locker room, everybody get a lap dance or something and calm themselves down. Apparently, everybody's a little too uptight. Look, football is about inches and it's about guys coming together as a collective. I understand right now they still upset with this guy because they're off to a rocky start, but I think Mike said this on some of the earlier shows. We also got to give this man some time. When you're trying to change a culture, when you're trying to change the way that guys think and see and understand, it takes a moment. And again, you're talking about a dude who is set in a specific era and generation, now trying to deal with this new generation. There's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts to this. It's going to take some time, and I hope these people give him an opportunity.
A lot of moving parts to a lap dance?
Wow, there's some breaking news, man. Stephon Gilmore, he just got traded to Carolina. We're gonna talk about the Stephon Gilmore move in a second, but it looked like the Patriots were able to trade him before the 4:00 deadline. I'm gonna talk about that in a second. Mike, what's your take on this Urban Meyer situation, bro? What you think, man?
It was a slow news day. Like it's slow. Like, come on, guys. Like, I watched the video. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. Like, if you want to complain about what's going on the football field, and ironically enough, they just played their best game of the season, even though they still lost. And now we bring up a lap. That's not even a lap dance, man. Like, it's dumb. It's especially, you know what it is? As men, we can't really just say what we want to say in public forums. It's nothing. If his wife is mad, I understand. I don't understand anybody else being even a small bit concerned with a little woman dancing in front of him. Like, that ain't even a lap dance. Like, she tried to back it up on him, and you could tell he was trying not to be disrespectful, but he was like, B word. In his mind, he was like, B word, slow down. Like slow down for a second. Like, everybody's here, so stop playing. Right. Like, come on.
All right, next up, man, I want to talk about Sage Steele. I don't know if you guys saw some of the comments Sage Steele made over the weekend. I'm sure you guys probably got a chance to say some of that stuff. If you notice, she's not on the midday show of ESPN. Sage usually does the midday sports and everything else, but she said some disparaging remarks about President Obama, about taking COVID, about, of course, being able to be COVID compliant with ESPN and everything else. But the most important and most damaging thing that she said was she insinuated. Now, mind you, if you guys know what Sage Steele looks like, you'll see this. She kind of insinuated that she recognizes and identifies as being a white woman. So she doesn't really necessarily identify as being a black woman. And of course, everybody got jumped up in arms about that. So Fig, talk to me. Tell me what you think about Sage Steele with her disparaging remarks against Obama, against COVID, about identifying as being white Irish. And since Obama identified as being black and he's mixed, she is biracial and she wants to identify as being white. What's your take on all this, man? Because it's crazy. What's your take?
I think we need to go back to the time where Sage was in an accident and fell and bumped her head or had some kind of traumatic brain injury. She wants to identify as what? I seen Sage Steele. I don't know what's wrong with people today. I don't know what she said about Obama, but Sage, you can no longer identify with being a white woman than I can identify with being 7 feet tall. It's not happening, Sage. It's just not. It's not possible. It just ain't gonna happen. I don't know what she said about Obama. I don't know. Something wrong with Sage Steele. She actually, maybe she fell in the tub or something like that. I don't know what happened to her, but there's a serious brain injury here somewhere.
Amir, what's your take on this, bro?
in this new format of the world, it is always amazing to me the interesting ways that we're now looking at the world and looking at ourselves. Sage Steele, if for whatever reason she thinks that she wants to identify with whatever she thinks she wants to identify with, God bless her. We've seen you, Sage. Just so you know, that's not going to happen. They're never going to identify you as that, and you shouldn't identify yourself as that. Now, if for whatever reason you want to identify with a certain part of your heritage, by all means, you should definitely do that. You should definitely acknowledge that and understand that. As far as whatever disparaging remarks she's made about, President Obama, who's not making disparaging remarks about everybody and everything? We're in a world now where clickbait and saying disparaging things or interesting things lets you go viral and supposedly makes the world pay attention to you. Is it really necessary?
Yeah, that's a great point. Mike, what's your take on this? You think ESPN, because I think Jamel Hill put her on blast too. I'm not even sure. I think she did. You think ESPN should even keep her employed, bro? What's your take?
Number one, the comment about Obama was based on her being told she had to fill out a census. And when she filled it out, she wanted to fill out black and white to represent her black father and her white mother or whichever one. They said, you can't. She said, why can't I? And then they brought up Obama, saying that he was biracial also, and he chose to be black. Well, he was like, I'm black. And then she made the comment. She said, well, that's good for him, but I want to do something different. And that's ironic that he picked black even though his dad wasn't around. Dumb comment. Stupid, dumb comment. I agree with nothing this woman said, but I'm getting tired of people losing their jobs based on their effing opinion. I'm getting tired of living in a country now that you can lose your job because you have an opinion on something. And if the masses don't agree with it, they can get rid of you. I said this before. This is a dangerous game that we're playing. When people can lose their job over a casual comment in a conversation on their opinion that has nothing to do with their job. Like, I don't know why we can't have opinions anymore. Why is everybody so soft that if somebody has an opinion and you disagree with it, you call for their job? Just disagree with their opinion. Rebuttal the opinion then.
Yeah.
If you want to go at her like Jamil went at her and everybody else, then rebuttal it. But I'm not taking your employment away because your opinion doesn't coincide with my views and opinions. It's crazy.
Yo, that's a great point. And I think how many people would still have their jobs if Twitter was never, instilled? Because people said stuff on Twitter that they still regretting. You know what I mean? Let's keep this thing moving, man. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see Stephon Gilmore got released by the New England Patriots. Now, the background is this. Stephon Gilmore is paid right now as the 11th best cornerback in the league. He wants to be paid as the best cornerback in the league. So the Patriots, before the show, they released him. But they had rights to him until 4 o'clock. So it looks like right now, while we were on the air, Stephon Gilmore got traded to Carolina for a 2023 sixth-round pick. And they both mutually agreed to part ways. I just knew he was going to Tampa Bay. I knew he was going to Green Bay, something like that. And at 4 o'clock, he might have. But now they put in that roadblock because they still had the rights to him. So, Fig, what do you think about right now with the Pats moving on from Stephon Gilmore because they weren't able to come to some kind of meeting? If Stephon wanted $15 million, Patriots were paying him $7 million. What's your take?
This is the Belichick way, man. Just recently, the Patriots spent a lot of money picking up free agents and stuff like that. But, ultimately, old habits die hard. Belichick is not one to capitulate to players' demands, and he's not one to pay top dollar for the players that he has on his team. This is par for the course. This is what Belichick does. He will release you. He will get rid of you. It's almost like petty. You know what I mean? I'm not paying you. I'm releasing you. I'm trading you. And Stephon Gilmore is like, yo, man, if he doesn't want to go to that team, he's like, yo, I'm not showing up. He can kill the deal. All you got to do is just say, I'm not showing up. I'm not playing for that team, and kill the deal.
I don't know if he can do that easily, but I'm going to check into that.
We do it all the time.
Amir, what do you think about this? Because Bill Belichick is notorious for how he does with players if he knows you have an injury. Stephon Gilmore has a quad injury. Stephon Gilmore wanted to be paid top dollar with the same quad injury and everything else without performance. That the back and forth between that injury and not you know how players are, especially cornerbacks, man. Cornerbacks don't make it that long in this league. What's your take on this, Amir? What you think?
You know, another case of management and you know, the players obviously not being on the same page. But bigger than that, here's my thing. I feel like if you are top whatever, then just go out and prove it. There's nothing that they can do if you go out game in, night out, and just prove what you're worth. Because then they have nothing to do but go to the stats and go, this cat is proving it. I get it. The league has changed now, and cats are saying, well, I did stuff last year. Or I did stuff 2 years ago, and I really should be paid for that. Yay and nay. We in a what have you done for me lately world. We always have been. We always will be. That's the way that this thing kind of goes. Now, I heard you mention something along the lines of they were willing to pay him $7 million or something like that.
No, he's paid
Look,
$7 million. He wants.
Oh, he's being paid $7 million.
Yeah, he wants.
Brother,
15.
you can't make $7 million work. Like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on here?
Nah, he wants to be paid as the number one cornerback in the league, like my man is for the Rams. You know, the man for the Rams is paid number one. He's paid $15 million. Stephon wants $15 million. Now he lost all of that because now he has to play out the rest of that remaining contract in Carolina because again he just got traded and his contract expires in 8 more games. Mike, what's your take on this, bro? What you think?
Hey, it's a business, man. It goes both ways. Belichick is this is the Belichick way. We always talk about the Belichick way, and he will. If he sees a way to get out of a contract and he doesn't think that, he has to look into the future and he thinks maybe this guy's not going to be worth being paid $15 million as a DB, you go with his instinct. And look, in hindsight, this might be a great situation for him. He might go to Carolina. When he gets in the lineup, Carolina's already got a pretty good defense. He might enhance it. He might be able to raise his stock for next season. Belichick hey, I'll give Belichick one thing. He don't surprise nobody. He stays absolutely consistent on getting rid of people that he thinks we may be blowing money on. Now, in the new time, the post-Tom Brady era, he's got a few more years before people start saying, does this work when Tom Brady's not your quarterback?
Right.
But we got to wait and see. We still got to wait and see.
I was going to say, Frank, Carolina's not a bad place, man. I mean, they're a pretty decent team. You know what I mean? They've been doing good so far, man. That's not like being in purgatory. It's not like they sent him to the Jacksonville Jaguars. No,
they definitely sent him to a good team. So he could, there's like a handful of teams. Every team needs a cornerback of his stature. But it's not like they won't use him. You know what I mean?
And Frank, you're saying you thought to yourself, why wouldn't they go to Tampa Bay? Do you think Belichick was really going to help Tampa Bay?
No. I wasn't saying that. I was saying if he got released, I was thinking Tampa Bay was going to mix and match and figure out a way. I'm sure Tampa Bay and Green Bay was in line to pay that man some money to figure out a way how to do it.
And you do know that Belichick knew if he'd get released that Tampa Bay could pick him up. So you knew he was going to do whatever it took to make a deal happen to get a 6th-round pick in the 2023 draft.
Listen,
that's nothing.
Not only that, I think he did it as a smoke signal to act like he was releasing him. So because now he could trade him and other teams who really wanted to step up, or they were, I don't know if I want to step up. Now they're forced their hand because he officially released. He can go anywhere. But with the trade happens, you have to go where you're sent. That changes everything. You know what I mean? But let's move on because obviously time is rolling. I want to get this in here, man. Over the weekend, there were some WNBA players who got caught on camera fighting in Atlanta at a day party. Now, the players are, let's see, Courtney Williams, Crystal Bradford, and Kalani Brown. They all play for, oh my God, I didn't write down the team, but they're WNBA players. Now, guess what happened this morning? The WNBA, because now, the WNBA is in the playoffs. They don't want any bad press whatsoever. People who are basically trying to work with the WNBA and stuff like that are asking, should these players be officially released? Again, they made some mistakes, but because of the fight, the way they did it, people want criminal charges pressed. They want them to be released from the WNBA. And here we go all over again. The same thing what Mike said about, actions and what you do. Fig, do you think these girls should have criminal charges pressed against them? Because they were rushed up on. If you saw a little bit of the video, these other women rushed up on them. They kind of had no choice. You know what I mean? They got put in a bad situation. But what do you think should happen to them, Fig? What's your thoughts?
Well, Frank, I mean, what did not come out in the press is that there was a camera crew there from Basketball Wives. And this was the episode that they were filming for the upcoming seasons. I don't know, man. Like, look, if you're in an establishment and you're an adult, you're drinking, you're having a good time, and you're attacked, I think you should have a right to defend yourself. So
Right.
if that's all it was, then should they be released? It's not like the Malice in the Palace. It's not like they were in a game and they ran up in the stands and they got into a fight with fans and stuff like that and paying patrons. They were in a bar, they were attacked, and they defended themselves. Should you release them for that? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a great point. What's your point, man?
I think, again, here we go, overreaching. Look, what people do on their own time is their own, is their own business. These ladies obviously were, in the throes of being in the playoffs. If they're in the playoffs, trying to release some steam. We out. It's a day party. We're gonna have a good time. Maybe have a drink or two, laugh, maybe dance or whatever the case may be, and then going back to their hotel so that they could prepare for whatever their next game is. We have to stop acting as though the players and the people who we admire in sports aren't human beings. They're human beings too. So a lot of the same emotions and things that we go through, they go through. To me, this isn't a big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal. We have to wait and see.
Either. They shouldn't even have to be threatened to lose their jobs. That's the way I look at it. Mike, what's your take on this, man? What you think?
You want to be like the NBA players? You always compare yourselves to the NBA players? That's what you want to be? Now come handle the repercussions of what it is to be an NBA player. NBA player gets into something like this, there are suspensions flying.
Yeah.
There are fines flying. Let there be a video of Carmelo Anthony somewhere at a club getting it popping in front of a food truck like this. Oh, my God. Listen, y'all want to be part of the league, and y'all want to hang out like the big boys, because I'm always hearing how y'all want to get paid just like the NBA players. Okay, here are the consequences. You want to get down with the get down during the playoffs, and y'all want to wild out like the NBA players? Now suffer the ramifications of it. Whether it's fair or not, I know if an NBA player, if a few players got caught on video, and then one of the players, if I look correctly, if I read this correctly, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I think one of the players that was involved in this actually put this on their Twitter account and laughed at it.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
So basically, she snitched on herself.
What?
Basically.
What game are we playing? Fig, like all of us know, if we do something on the road and something happens, the last thing we doing is posting it ourselves. Like, we're going to try and act like nothing ever happened.
Nowhere to be found. All right, let's move on, man. I want to be able to jump into. I got a couple more stories I want to run into.
Go ahead.
Fly by you guys, man. The next up, man, is we got to talk about the Red Sox beating the Yankees, and because of the simple fact, man, it was a wild card playoff and everything else. Now, here's the situation. And for those of you who don't know baseball like this and everything else, the Yankees got the option to play, obviously, Toronto or the Red Sox. If they were going to play Toronto, they had to play Toronto in New York. If they had to play Boston, they wanted to play Boston at Boston. Now, that was crazy. The Boston Red Sox felt hugely offended. That's number one. Number two, after the game, Aaron Boone was not too sure if he's coming back to coach the Yankees, because the Yankees haven't won a playoff series against the Red Sox since 2003. So, Fig, what are your thoughts about everything I just said about the obviously the disrespect, and should Aaron Boone be asked to come back as the manager for the New York Yankees for the 2022 season, 21-22 season? What's your take?
Obviously, it wasn't disrespect. They just felt like they had a better opportunity to win against the Red Sox than other team. It's like, I don't know why that's disrespectful. Like, it put it to you this way. I get to play the Knicks, right? I'm the Knicks. I get to play either Atlanta or the LA Lakers with LeBron, Carmelo, and all. I'm picking Atlanta. You pick the lesser of the two evils, the team that you think you can beat. Is it disrespectful? No, it's not disrespectful to your team. It's just your team is not as good as the other option. So I'm picking the lesser of the two evils, the one that I think I can win. You lost. So you took it disrespectfully because the team wanted to play you as opposed to a juggernaut? That's dumb, man. Like, get over yourself.
Okay, Amir, now, I don't know if you would take it as disrespectful, because the Yankees, I'll say it again, the Yankees were going to play they had the opportunity to play Toronto at home or Boston in Boston. So I could see why they would find that disrespectful. What's your take on this, Amir? What you think?
I mean, to be honest with you, I think the Yankees probably should have gone for home cooking, regardless to, what was going on and how great the other team was. I think they should have took home cooking. Why? You got your fans, you're home. Hopefully you got the energy of the crowd and everything else. Now, the other side of that, I do and can understand how or why they might have picked Boston just for folklore. Let's be clear. New York and Boston have had, blood between them for years and probably will, continue to have blood between them. So they probably were looking at it as an opportunity to have a new folklore written where this particular group of guys went into a hostile environment and got the job done. Obviously, that didn't happen. So, you win some, you lose some. In this particular case, they lost. Next year is another year to, get it popping again. And we just have to see if these guys have the fortitude to say, yo, we need to give this another shot.
All right, well, Mike, on the flip side of that, the Yankees did beat the Red Sox 6 straight times the last time they faced them. So maybe they were thinking, okay, we could beat them like that too. Maybe that's their thought process. What's your thought process? Disrespectful? What? And then on top of that, I want to hear your take on what they should handle with Aaron Boone. Also, what you think they should do?
Explain to me, who created this rule that the Yankees got to pick who they were playing in the playoffs?
The wild card, when they made the wild card thing, the one-off wild card, because they wanted to make it more exciting, the baseball commissioner and those guys, they made that rule.
Did they have to lose on purpose or something, or they literally got to choose?
No, they got to choose because they had a 4-way tie. They had to choose, and the Yankees, because the Yankees had the highest percentage point and everything else, they were to be able to ones to choose who they were going to play because they knew it was definitely going to be the Yankees because they had the highest percentage point. But Toronto and obviously Boston was sitting there, so they had to choose between them. So
there has to be some type of tiebreaker. Yeah, if I'm Boston, I would have taken it as disrespect that not only are you willing to play us, you're willing to come to Boston. And I guess if they had a 6-game winning streak against them, the odds are the streak was going to end at some point. I mean, I would have always chosen to play in Yankee Stadium. And Aaron Boone, I don't know. Listen, man, one of the most thankless jobs is being the manager of the New York Yankees. Because if you don't win a World Series, you're ridiculed. Like, it doesn't matter if you go to the playoffs. It doesn't matter if you go deep into the playoffs. It doesn't matter if you go to the World Series. If you don't win the World Series, you're a loser. This is the one franchise in baseball. Like, that happens in different franchises in the NBA, like the Celtics and the Lakers and stuff like that. But only in baseball with the New York Yankees, you either win or you lose. If you don't win a World Series, you're bummed. So I can tell Aaron Boone ain't tight for money by no means. So he's probably getting sick of having to deal with the media every day, and that's some real media. That New York is a real New York, Chicago, and them media markets in Boston where you live at. That's a real stressful situation having to deal with them people in your neck every day.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you got to deal with the rivalry. You got to get asked the same questions 50,000 times. I'm sure they're sick of that. Man.
And Mike, you left out the Knicks when you were talking about storybook franchises. You said the Boston, the Lakers, and you left out the Knicks.
Okay.
I'm a huge Knicks fan, Fig. I know. I wish, Fig. I wish too, homie. I wish. All
right, let me bring up the next subject, man, because I think you guys are going to find this really interesting, man. Because we talked about First Take. We talked about it when they first made the change of Stephen A.
Let's talk about it.
We talked about this before. I saw it coming. Mike predicted it Mike predicted it from day one. I'm gonna say that he predicted it from day one. I thought it was 50-50. But Fig, here's the facts. The facts are First Take, since they got rid of Max Kellerman, First Take is the lowest rated show on the network right now and has been since the change and everything else. So what's your thoughts right now on what ESPN is? They have to be sitting there thinking about what we're going to do with this situation. And maybe they might be moving Stephen A. out because they made an announcement this morning. Stephen A. now is going to be going to the NBA show. So they might change up the First Take too. They might take him off of First Take too. I don't know what they're going to do. But Stephen A. now made the announcement this morning that he's moving to the NBA show that they're going to do with a couple other players and everything else. So what's your take on this, Fig?
I think Stephen A. overreached on his popularity, and he didn't realize that ESPN, that franchise, is the viewership is predominantly Caucasian males of a certain age, and the fact that you snatched off Max Kellerman, which was the replacement for Skip Bayless when he went over to the other network. I think you overplayed your hand. And now you realize that, although you're entertaining and very good at what it is that you do, you just can't get rid of the white guy on the show and expect to be popular with the demographic that is watching your show. So you overreached, and ESPN let it go down. But I'll tell you this, and I know about corporate America, sometimes they promote you to the level of your incompetence when they want to get rid of you.
That's one take. Amir, let me ask you this. In my opinion, and not to disagree with anything he said, anything Fig said, but I think there might be more people out there who like Max Kellerman more than than they even thought and they assumed. I think ESPN brass was really thinking that everybody's watching First Take because they love Stephen A. Smith. You know what I mean? I think they just overreached with that take, but that's my take. I mean, I think Max Kellerman was more liked than what they actually assumed. What's your take on this, Amir? What you think?
I think we had a case here of the Odd Couple. When we were kids, we used to watch The Odd Couple with Jack Klugman and
Tony Randall. Yep.
And I remember, that was like one of my favorite shows. And I think in this particular case, that was the same kind of format that format of First Take was under. And I think what, tends to happen is like anything. Sometimes, when our popularity goes up, and it just depends on who you are as an individual, you tend to believe and think that your popularity goes above and beyond what you might really believe your popularity is. And in this particular case, I think those two dualities happened at the same time. I also think that there probably is some other underlining things that we probably aren't privy to and we will never know or, won't hear about until somebody does their memoirs, either Max Kellerman or Stephen A. Smith down the line. But I think that the show has always needed at least two people to play off of each other. What Stephen A. Smith does extremely well is play off of somebody. And I just think that to this point, obviously they haven't found the right co-host to keep that going. The people who they've, tried to put in place to this point, they don't have that same kind of energy, nor do I think that they're prepared for that kind of all day, every day back and forth. And you got to be a special person for that. So, we'll have to wait and see. Congratulations to him on the new NBA gig, though. So we'll have to see how that plays out as well,
Yeah. Mike, what's your take on this, man? Because the way I look at it, I'll be honest with you. I think people are sick and tired of hearing that same monotone voice, the same. I think the people are just sick of the same antics for a longer period of time. I think that might be it. And it could be a case of overexposure, too, on the network. But with your background, Mike, I'd be interested to hear what your take is. What's your take?
You asked for it, Steve. You believed that you were the show. You believe you were the show. And that's not the case on a debate show. Pardon the interruption. The highest rated show on ESPN has two gentlemen on there who understand their roles are 50-50. We need each other to work well together. You believed your hype, Steve. When you started taking pictures on private jets, I knew you believed your hype. I knew you thought you was that dude. Like, what you're really mad at, and I'm going to repeat this, when the Colin Kaepernick situation came up, Max Kellerman sounded like the black man on that show.
He did.
And it rubbed you the wrong way because the people responded. And then you were like, I'm Steve. If I hear you one more time tell Max Kellerman why you debate him that this is your show, do you know how immature and how egotistical that was to bring that up during debates when you were having a debate about Max Kellerman? That's like if I'm debating somebody and I just happen to mention, well, we're having this debate in my house. What does that have to do with anything? Instead of basing your debates on emotion, you couldn't debate them on facts because Max would kill you on facts. Even when I didn't agree with Max, he would still kill you on facts. But you got it now, homie, because the same way you dissected players for calling players coach killers, you're the co-host killer. And now there's nowhere to go. So you can bring Michael Irvin in to try and save you. You can bring Tim Tebow in to try and save you. And you can go through the NBA show and bring Magic Johnson so you can kiss Magic Johnson's ass because you'll never challenge Magic Johnson because we know the people that you'll kiss their ass and won't challenge. And we know the people that you'll disrespect, which was Max Kellerman. And you did disrespect them. You really did on that show. So go ahead, homie. The exposure's all yours. The spotlight is bright. And there's nowhere to go now because you out your mouth said for the last 5 years that show has been number one. And now it's at the bottom of the heap on ESPN. Enjoy the spotlight. Enjoy it.
Mike, what Stephen A. do to you, man? I just want to know.
Dog, I just think Stephen A. has said some of the most arrogant stuff.
Yes.
Like, let me quote this. When Colin Kaepernick first came out and made his statement, Stephen A. Smith looked in the camera and said, no camera person should give him any camera time ever again. We should never have cameras in front of Colin Kaepernick. That's what that sellout ass said about a man who is trying to go against police brutality. And he got away with it. And nobody held him to the fire. That's my problem with Stephen A. Smith.
He did say that. Listen, I can't disrupt that. Everything he did say that.
And the fact that Stephen A. was at one of Mike's shows and booed him. That's what happened.
Yes. Yes.
That might have been. That might be it. That might be it. Well,
I'd be mad too, Mike. God damn it.
All right. Let me see if I get this last question in there, man. You guys all know, man. The NBA preseason has started, got underway, and everything else. But the NBA started instituting a new rule change right now. I watched a couple of games, and I watched the Celtics game and Orlando game was Monday night and everything else, and I noticed that it was dramatic. I got a chance to watch the replay of the Golden State game too, and Steph Curry got caught out there. Now, the new rule change I'm talking about is when an NBA offensive player will jump up and create a certain type of movement to try to create contact and be able to basically draw a foul. I saw it happen 4 times. Steph Curry did it 3 times, and no foul was called. He got upset. I think it's going to change a ripple effect for a lot of teams. That minor rule will change the way a lot of teams play ball because you cannot force try to get a point. James Harden's huge with it. Steph Curry. A lot of these guys who hit 3-pointers are good at creating the contact, especially when they jump up and they kick their leg out. Fig, do you agree with me thinking the NBA new rule change is going to change the way some of these players play, or do you think they're not going to be able to adapt with this new rule change? What's your take?
You know, I was always a fan of the defense. You know what I mean? And that rule that allowed a player to pump fake, and then when the defender goes up, jump into the defender because he's in the air and create a foul. I never liked that. I always thought that was an unfair rule anyway, and I'm glad that it's out. Now, the fact that it was highlighted on Steph Curry will probably, and the fact that he's so popular will probably have a ripple effect to the rest of the league and make them understand, well, damn, if Steph can't get away with it, then nobody can get away with it. And it'll stop those players from trying to pull that off because it's not what they call a natural basketball move. And I'm glad that the NBA is pulling it out.
Right. Amir, do you think the NBA players will be able to get it right in 4 games?
I think the NBA players will eventually make the adjustment. Look, these guys are professionals. The fact that they implemented it in the first place is just, like you said, to give your team or, give yourself momentum at some points in the game. You got to go back to what you do best, which is being a professional basketball player. Most of these guys are more than skilled enough to be able to make the adjustment, and I think that they will. I'm also glad that they're finally doing something about this because I even hate the one where you dribble down the court and like you stop in front of a guy, and if he bumps into you, from behind, you catch a foul. I think all of those things are just dumb. Mm-hmm. I think we should get back to just playing the sport. These guys are all totally skilled dudes in so many different ways. Go out there and show us what you're capable of, and allow us to enjoy the game again like we've been accustomed to.
Mike, do you think we're going to see an NBA game decided by a no call that with this new rule that got instituted that's going to make everybody be in an uproar?
I hope it does. I'm so tired of NBA players just throwing their bodies into somebody when they pump fake, and it just gets like when you see the call, you go like, we all see what's going on. We all see that was not a foul on the defensive player, that the offensive player initiated the whole thing. And we go years of just watching the James Hardens of the world just get people in foul trouble. For once, I will 1,000% agree with Fig. For once, these offensive players are already impossible to cover. They're already impossible. If you hold somebody to 25 points, you did a good job when you're dealing with an all-star. Finally, the defense gets a little help in doing the right thing. If I go straight up and I come down, straight down, pause, and you lean. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead.
Okay.
I hear you.
And if you lean into me, it's not a foul on me. It should have never been allowed to begin with. Honestly, I'm glad it's happening, and I hope it does turn into something. I hope we do see something where a non-call, or you really want to make it, why not call an offensive foul on the player?
Yes.
That would be a great idea. That's a great idea. Call offensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm for that. I think, I'm for that. So, okay. That's the show. But tomorrow we got to talk about, I don't know if we discussed it, you guys discussed it this week, but we got to talk about the Fury Wilder rematch that's coming up this week. Rodney Perry's out in Las Vegas, man. He sent me a quick video. I got to make sure I broadcast this video tomorrow, man. We got to talk about now more, of course, the Stephon Curry thing. And, of course, there's Ben Simmons news happening every day. The Deshaun Watson news that I saw that popped up this morning. I got to, investigate into that more. We'll figure it all out. Talent wasn't here today. I want to thank Amir for sitting in for him. Amir, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you. But Talent will be back tomorrow. Rodney Perry's in Vegas. He's traveling to Fig. Tell everybody out there how they can follow you.
Yo, it's right there on the screen, baby. At Comedian Fig. All social media platforms when they working. Box seats Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m.
Ain't that the truth?
That's sports on TV. We take it over for Stephen A.
Yeah, when they are working. Amir, when they're working, how can we follow you?
Hey, when they're working, I'm at A-Rock Sealy on Instagram, right there at the bottom of the screen. On Facebook and on Twitter, I'm just Amir Sealy. Please join me for whatever endeavors I find myself in. Always is wonderful to be on here with you gentlemen. So salute and thank you.
Yeah, and Dave will probably be back tomorrow. The Business Bully will be back tomorrow too. Mike, talk to me. How do we follow you?
Follow me at Mike Sean Comedy. If your life did not change those 6 hours that social media was down, that means you're really grown.
Yeah. Because I didn't miss a beat. I don't know about y'all. I didn't miss a beat.
I knew my Instagram didn't refresh, and I was like, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Keep it going. Exactly.
I wrote somebody a letter.
I wrote a couple of emails. How about that? All right, y'all. That's the show. The show's called Box Seats. It's replays on the Humor Mill channel. The show comes on from 1 to 2. The replays from 3 to 4 every day on the Humor Mill channel. We'll be back tomorrow, and we're going to talk about all the stuff I discussed. And until then, thank you all for watching. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Everybody will be back tomorrow, man. And did y'all miss me? I hope y'all did, man. We'll be back tomorrow. So we're going to keep this thing going. Peace.
Peace.